absolutely online.
Oh.
That's
I thought you were
where
more
I live
upset
my
with,
life.
I thought you were more upset about Jerry Tubman.
Some would argue I'm too online.
You're complaining about the quality. I gotta say, this is better quality than inside. Maybe because there's more lighting, and you have a Red Bull.
Well, my computer, I am on my phone service.
Magic? You're on the Magic? Are you about to do some?
Yeah, I'm on
shit?
the Magic. So I'm not in my house. I went to Wawa real quick since I am on the go and have all this new freedoms. I'm recording from my phone, a minute away from my house.
Yes.
And then I realized, shit, I basically wanted to go early because I had to go to the grocery store later. So I was like, fuck it. I'll just sit in my car and do this. Like, I'm going to rage at my phone, like in those clips where I'm just going to yell at somebody, I guess. I can do that. I can be that guy.
You can do that.
I can get mad at my car.
Do you have rage
else.
now? What's going on? Are you about to
I don't actually have any rage.
I thought you were about to pop off. I was with the pop off.
There's nothing. Like, what am I gonna be mad at this point?
Yeah. It's almost useless to be angry about anything in today's day and age.
I watched Fight Island. Like, can anyone be mad? Really? I mean, yes.
Wait, did you watch last night's Fight Island, or did you watch Fight Island?
No, I watched 251. I didn't watch last night's.
I went to sleep during last night's one. It was very slow.
I forgot it was happening.
Yeah.
Until today, when I saw the results, I was like, "Oh, that happened."
They didn't do a very good job with this one, but it filled its gap on. I feel like they knew that, having it slotted for a Wednesday or Thursday night or whatever.
Yeah, that and they super duper promoted Saturday.
Yes.
Got a ridiculous buy rate for it. So they can coast, basically. Like, that was what they sold the card they had to sell. The rest of the shit is whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't think they care. I think they're just now they're thinking about Stipe Cormier 3. They don't care about anything else in between. They're like, I don't give a fuck
everything else.
watch
Everything else. Everything else in between is like Joseph Benavidez versus Davison Figueiredo, and then the co-main is going to be Kelvin Gastelum and Jack Hermanson, which is actually pretty dope. I'm not mad at that. But that's the only other notable card on that, or fight on the card. And the dude that beat Conor McGregor, Joseph Duffy, is still fighting, so he's going to be on the prelims. Like, we're dying.
He will never be known as a dude that beat Conor McGregor. The UFC will try the best they can to not remind you of that.
They should throw him back in there with him to see what happens.
Just to see what the difference a decade makes, basically.
Yeah. Run it back. He's done well for himself. And then Fight Night 174 is Darren Till, Robert Whittaker, and Darren Till he's been itching for a fight because he's been doing almost exclusively online bullying on Mike Perry's account. So we know he's raging to get back in there. Oh, Gustafsson is back. He's fighting Fabricio Verdum at heavyweight.
Yeah, Gustafsson, unretired.
Yeah. Brazilian Cowboy fights in that card.
Probably.
That card is the infamous Betch Correa comes back. So we better hold our tongues because there's a lot of Holly Holm fights again, and a card that's not filled yet. And then August 15th is 252.
Again, those all sound like names that are gonna get swept on the 252.
Yeah, they could have taken all of those big names and just throw them on 252 to have a better card, to be honest.
And I know they're trying to spread it out to get buys or to get eyes on other cards in between, but if they're all free, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
There's no gate, so
right.
Who? I mean, I guess you got to sell sponsorships because your advertisers are going to want obvious incentive to throw their name on that shit and sell you things. So that's why you have Holly Holm main event, ESPN card that no one's going to watch. But
don't be rude to Holly Holm. Excuse me.
I'm not. I will never be rude to Holly Holm, but she's not a draw. There's one draw in a division in the female in all the female sports in all female UFC. There's one draw outside of the 115
Paige Van Zandt.
weight. No, is she even fighting anymore?
She fought last weekend and
she lost, but I thought, like, is that like it? Can we consider this a transition to like?
Hey, Paige, I know you're listening. You got 2 million followers, and I know you follow our accounts as a result. But let's wrap it up, huh? Let's
can we just transition into IG or OnlyFans or whatever the fuck? Like whatever the next. What's the next step?
Yeah. If I'm Dana, I'm like, hey,
I'm ready. I'm excited for Paige Van Zandt's next step.
I love watching these post conferences now with Dana because Dana's like, told you so, bitches. Like every time someone doesn't make it like Jorge, like if it's not Jorge, it's always him just like, you know, I don't want. It's always like I don't want to be an asshole, but and then it's gonna be followed by something else. But
some asshole bullshit about to say.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I can feel it. I understand why. Because Paige was like, I get paid more money to do Instagram, so what's the incentive to fight? And he's like, go ahead and do that because your ass is not gonna lose here and make more money. So.
Right, and you're not giving yourself any opportunity to make any more money than I'm paying you right now in any contract negotiation. So,
and then Then he threw Curtis Blades out there, and I'm like, no, he has nothing to say about this. No,
we've been strafing him for months. We can let him go. We have to release him.
Yeah. It's been a lot of ups and downs. A lot of ups and downs for the UFC as of recent.
Maybe.
I would say more in favor of the fighters for some of this because, I mean, shouts out to first round management and Jorge Masvidal for pulling off the heist of the century because that couldn't have worked out. But I almost feel like they gave Gilbert Burns fucking COVID in order to step in and get the money that they wanted.
They just sent an assassin to go cough on him?
Yeah, it's coughed in his mouth while he was sleeping like a Chinese man. And then he just went back into the Shaolin Temple or wherever he's from, because that's where Chinese people are from. This podcast is racist.
I think, really, Dana White just needed... he made the right... I don't know if he called anyone first, like before Jorge Masvidal, but I think that's exactly the kind of person you want to call, because he has that same fucking... A, he will fight you.
Yeah.
Whenever or wherever.
Right.
B, he has a following that will... follow him to...
Jarrett, your voice is breaking up right now. I think you might be
watching.
Hold on, you're I'm watching a man, but it's like all over the place. Oh, it's caught now. I think. Are you on like LTE? Are you ducty whining right now?
I was making sure that you understood that I'm still here.
The most dutty whiny wine of all time.
But he has the.
Now your camera's off.
Is it? Why is it off?
I don't know. Did you press something? There you go.
We're better now. I was. I'm not. There we go. He has the rabid fan base that will like straight up go wherever the fuck he wants them to go. Like he has that Nate Diaz like fucking Kobe Covington energy fan base.
Yeah.
That wants to watch him fight.
Here's the thing:
so,
you
like,
can't say
you want to call.
You can't say Kobe Covington's got a lot of fans because they don't show out. I went to go see him in Newark, and in the Prudential Center. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it was like half empty, even up until the main event. So.
Thing is, I don't think they show out there because Newark is not Kobe Covington country.
There were people in Newark. Their only fans that were there were all MAGA fans, all of them.
Well, yeah,
and like one.
That's because nobody else is going to Newark to watch a fucking fight. They're going to New York or Philly, maybe. You did.
It was at 4 p.m. as well too, on a Saturday.
But those people will definitely buy. Normally they would go to a bar and pay the cover to go see it, or they would definitely, buy a pay-per-view on their TV. So these are the same people. It's the same Chael Sonnen people. They might not go watch Chael Sonnen in person, but they're gonna buy it because they want to see him beat up maybe a loudmouth uppity brown person that might deserve it.
Right.
They don't get. I mean, I guess they kind of got that handed to them this time too. I was like, they don't really have that situation here, but no. Kamaru Usman's like, if I was upset,
he beat up
a particular sort of person, and I was upset about how the Covington thing went. I would definitely feel a particular sort of way about how this could go.
You feel you feel as if though that Jorge represents the conquistadors in this vein, like from Spain.
Some might say.
Yeah.
Some might say I'm not calling Jorge Masvidal a colonizer in any way.
Yeah. You're calling him and the Cubans colonizers since they immigrated here in the 80s during the crime wave.
I'm just saying Miami is full of things that start with C, and not all of them are cocaine. And they don't all belong here. That's all I'm saying.
This is the platform where we completely switch our fan bases to MAGA and we get Cubans out of Florida to make it safer.
Yeah, I'm taking that Nick Cannon energy.
Yeah.
And how can I cancel the show before it starts?
Did you see him and like Deshaun Jackson not him, but Deshaun Jackson like misquoted like Hitler or whatever?
He misquoted Hitler in like an interview.
Yeah.
On a podcast, and then like the Eagles were like, he was wilding, my bad. And then I think a week later he showed like he was asked about it again and showed like A, barely apologized, and B, showed like no remorse, like not even remorse, but like was almost about to say the same shit.
I know what I said was wrong, but I'm doubling down in my head because
but have you met a Jew?
Jews. Yeah. I've met several Jews. I lived up in Bergen County.
Oh yeah, that's where they were created.
That's where they were created, yeah. To forget Israel.
Forget it. Bergen County, New Jersey.
Bergen County, New Jersey.
That is second to Long Island.
Yeah.
Where I think there's a factory somewhere.
Did you watch Uncut Gems already, right?
Yeah. What a movie.
What a film.
By the way.
I'll tell you,
didn't expect a single thing in that movie.
That is the most accurate representation of Bergen County Jews that's ever been created.
Probably.
It's dead on. And also, even Adam Sandler, like, I'm not sure if he lived in New York this whole time. Has he been living in New York this whole time?
He lived in New York this whole time, yeah. He's born and raised in New York.
Yeah, so all the Jews from New York settled down in New Jersey, and that's where all my buddies were. And they were all like, all of you are exactly the same. And Adam Sandler has highlighted that. And the only real Jews are black. I'm pro Deshaun Jackson. So
listen, Nick Cannon said it. He can't be anti-Semitic because he's the real Semitic.
That's right.
And listen,
the black people are. This is great. Black people are taking golf. We're taking Jews. We're taking NASCAR. We're taking everything from white people.
That's right.
We're the Jews now. Lenny Kravitz, the
horse
real
show.
OG.
They're next.
Horse shows. The Haskell is next week.
Yeah,
we will show up for that. It's like $200 a ticket to go to the Haskell.
Really?
Yeah, because like they want to keep it like low capacity, and they only want rich people to be there anyway. So
I feel like it was always $200 a ticket then, probably.
No, to go on the lawn and stuff, it was like $10, $15.
Really?
It wasn't bad at all.
I thought it was always like upper echelon. Clearly, only rich people want to be here, sort of situation.
Well, here's the thing: like you either have to be rich and reserve an area. That way, you don't have to like worry about time consumption. Like if you're not if you're a commoner, you have to get there at like 6 o'clock in the morning because that's the only way you're going to get like seating. That's not with the people in sundresses, because the people in sundresses come and they like reserve like whole sections. So you can't. So you can only go to like the common field area, which is like $10 or $15, whatever it is.
You can't sit with the sundress club.
You can't sit with the sundress club unless you're with them or you fucking rent a whole $2,000 section out to yourself. But they can't do that right now, so they're just like, we'll just only have rich people here. So poo-poo on you, fucking common sports fans who have gambling addictions.
Yeah, see, you say sports fans, but really, I think it's the latter. It's people who just like watching, either maybe want to gamble themselves or like watching people gamble.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else I would do there except drink.
Well, you can bet on other stuff while you're there.
So it's like it's horse racing and other things.
Yeah, it's horse racing. You can bet on the horse races, and you're like, well, I'm feeling more like a degenerate than normal, and I feel like I'm going to bet more money on like UFC or boxing. And usually the UFC is like on Saturdays, so they have UFC events that you can bet on, and they have like $20 cheeseburgers. The whole place is like a racket.
Which is the real gamble.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a long-winded explanation for the Haskell, which is going to be this weekend. Usually I go like every other year, but this year I'm not going to go because I'm not paying $200 for a ticket. It's just I don't like $200. I don't like horse slavery as much as that to spend $200. Like you really have to enjoy horse slavery to spend $200 to watch it.
There's like a relationship with jockeyism that I don't think it ever developed to spend $200 to go see that shit.
I'm set. And there's a bunch of angry-looking state troopers there. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. I feel like there's like a lot of things that we have to cover. So 251. So Vulcan. I mean, I'm not going to go over the prelims because there's not that many things in the prelims. But Vulcan Ozdemir got shit fucked by this guy named Jiri Prochazka from, I think it's either, where is it, Croatia? Where the fuck is he from?
It sounds like Croatia.
Where is he
but
from?
that's also just me being racist.
It is. Chechnya? It's
Chechnya.
It's not, but there's no N. Unless they fucked it up. Didn't the Czech Republic turn into two countries, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
After
it says Hostradis Czech Republic. And the only reason why I bring him up is because his story was weird. They had offered him a contract a year ago to fight in the UFC, and he turned it down. He said, no thanks.
To do what?
To fight in the UFC. They offered him...
like, what else did he... what did he...
I think he just stayed in the regional scene in the Czech Republic. And then he's like, okay, I'm ready. And then they gave him that opportunity.
Then they were right.
And then, yeah! And then he shit-fucked Vulcan Ozdemir. Like, and it was really strange. It was a very unorthodox style to begin with, but he, like, whenever he got punched in the face, he'd, like, double down and was like, continue doing that. And then tilted his head forward more to get punched in the face. It was very strange. If you ever had an opportunity to go watch it. But he ended up just straight up cold dead knocking Vulcan Ozdemir out. Like, just brutally knocking him out. And I'm like, this is very strange. And I think Vulcan was like 8 at the time, so ranked 8. So I think, does that put him into the rankings? I don't know, but we'll see.
I didn't see the fight, but was it like a? I don't even know how the finish looked. Like, was it? It was first clean. Round, second round.
Second round. First round, he was getting into flurries with Vulcan Ozdemir, and they were going back and forth. But he kind of like maybe might have won the first round out of just sheer controlling the space, because they were exchanging about the same. And then the second round came around, and he just like looked like a different fighter. And then, his hands were still low and all that shit, but he went out there and he just methodically pressed Vulcan, and then stunned him, and then just put him out. Like out. Like he wasn't like, even after the ref was over or whatever, he slumped on the floor like a Family Guy character, and they're trying to like shake him awake. But yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely crazy. It was like 49 seconds into the second half, or second quarter. Second round. That's the one.
Quarter? So they're inconsistent with how, like, what the rating, or what the ranking sort of affect things like sort of flash KOs from randos.
Right.
Really has an effect on, like, I would be surprised if this drops him out of, like, the top 15.
It definitely is going to put him at like 13 or 14 because he's been on a roll down.
But I don't know if this, suddenly elevates random dude from Czech Republic into the top 15.
I think it makes him gangster as shit that he declined them, comes back and kills one of their top 15 guys in his first UFC fight ever. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that's
but
a
I think
pretty
that's
big
a
deal.
narrative we can have.
Yeah,
that's not a narrative the UFC is going to use
right.
to promote him sooner.
Right.
I mean, maybe if he gets no championship picture, they'd be like, "Remember that time when Dana White tried to give you a contract and you were just too gangster for that money?"
Right.
But like right now, they're just gonna be like, "Hey, this fucking dude you didn't know about killed this dude you might have known about."
Yeah,
and it's great. It's all good for this dude. I just don't know that it means he's like a contender now yet.
No, I don't think he's a contender, but I'm saying in the way that he might be given a ranking soon. He just beat a ranked 8 guy who's got a decent amount of wins on his record. Not too many losses, and most of his losses are coming from like top 5 guys anyway, because he was fighting with like the top 5 guys early in his career. And the UFC put a lot of time into like promoting No Time, and he changed his name a bunch of times. It was something before, I don't remember what it was, but because he was fighting DC, like they put him on a fast track to fight DC. They almost did the same thing with Johnny Walker, but they gave Johnny Walker a lot more tomato cans before they eventually moved him up into like a ranked opponent. But it's very strange to see that they threw him his first fight as a ranked opponent. I see it more as like
I think they thought this is a tool up fight for both.
Yeah, right. And I don't think they were expecting him to come out there and knock him dead like that. So like they have to come up with a new game plan because that was their guy. Vulcan was their guy, and now he's unconscious.
Right, and they needed to build guys because they're running out of. Yeah. Because the top 5 seem to be the same top 5 for the past 5 or 6 years. There aren't any more characters in that division, and every time they get close, they fuck up somehow, and get KO'd or injure themselves or whatever. Sometimes both.
Right. Very strange.
So, I think that's the weird part of the promotion. Like, you have to commit resources as a company. And make them a character in a way that, in the best way you can, especially if they're not going to do it themselves, can make them interesting and make people who aren't already invested be at least a little bit invested every time they see them.
Right.
But wins and losses should be the reason you're invested, but in reality, it isn't. Like,
makes sense.
It isn't the primary reason. So like winning all the time doesn't fucking mean anything, until it does. And losing all the time doesn't mean anything until it does. And as a promoter, you can't decide when it does and when it doesn't. The people do, and you'll know like immediately, and you'll never be able to react to it. It seems like so. Like Vulcan getting starts doesn't necessarily mean he can't still be the character they want him to be and be the person they can push. But it's tough to know without seeing the reaction to it, and doubling down on that is tough to know because there's no people around. Like the only people that you get to sort of take into account as far as figuring that out are critics and the internet forums. There was no crowd in attendance. No one was there to react to how he got knocked out, to react to what he had to say afterwards, blah blah blah. So
and especially to double on to hear what he said afterwards. It didn't matter if there were people or not because he barely speaks English. So that's the other.
Yeah.
So have fun with that, UFC. That's going to be great.
I fight very good. I love America. I love Abu Dhabi.
Russia. Boo, Russia.
So I'm curious, like, it's always interesting to see how the UFC sort of decides to jump on and continue to commit to fighters who maybe take tough L's.
Yeah.
And who aren't already, like, quote-unquote superstars. Like, kind of removed, and maybe Ronda Rousey removed, it seems like to be a toss-up. Like, sometimes you can almost tell, like the UFC, or maybe just particular parts of the UFC are just kind of waiting for someone to fail so they can just stop doing this and stop, like, getting behind them. And other times you can see, like, they refuse to let them go. That was probably Paige Van Zandt for a while. Until she was like, man, fuck this UFC shit. I'm on this IG shit.
And then we're like,
and
all right.
Dana White was like, oh, word?
A word? We're going to put you up against the hottest Brazilian prospect that is available. She's going to kick your head off.
Please, some giant, some lethal, dangerous, like, striker killer from some jungle. Please kill this woman so I can get her off of my screen.
Super embarrassing. Super embarrassing. They fought for the Glizzy Goblin championship, and Amanda Ribas is the Glizzy Goblin of the year because Paige Van Zandt got schmacked up, submitted in the first round. She talked all that shit, and then Dana very short of like, aha, bitch, you got fucked up, bitch, what's up? Just short of that was like, hey, you can't say, those things about, your draw and how good of of an athlete and blah, 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 and all that other stuff. And then you just get beat in that fashion. It's like almost as if you didn't prepare for the fight. And that's what it kind of seems like. It seems like she really didn't spend any time preparing for the fight because she was on the feet with her and within 2 minutes she was on the floor and she just didn't like really... I will say this. She was looking good for like one transition where she was kind of like putting her on her back, and then from there, Amanda was like, I got the submission from here. Don't worry, I've got it from here, and then got the subby sub.
There was like a little bit of a scramble
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, she's just working to get back on her feet.
Right.
And then it stopped suddenly.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. Like
yeah.
her one transition to a different position didn't work as well, so she was like, all right, it's over.
Yeah. That was at flyweight, I'm pretty sure, though, right? That was a flyweight fight. It was. So that fight was at 125. That is not her backyard, Paige's backyard. So maybe she felt...
No.
I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is there, because she was making most of her... whatchamacallit, most of her bread and butter at strawweight as a fighter. And from what I understand, it wasn't a hard weight cut for her, and there's so many more stars in that division. So maybe... I don't know, maybe... in Paige's mind, if she wins, she'll be one of like 5 flyweights that have wins, because there's not that many flyweights right now in the women's division.
I think the idea is like be a star in a division that's different. Like you're not going to be a star in the strawweight division. There's too many of them.
Right.
And like real fucking killers in the strawweight division. Like, that's smoke. I don't think she wants, and I don't know that she is trying to she was trying to coast to like the belt in flyweight, because it's not easy either.
Well, the thing is like, although there might be killers in strawweight, those same killers are likely to exist in flyweight because that's a 10-pound difference. Right. You know, and then they'll be at a healthier weight, and they'll be at a more comfortable weight versus just staying in strawweight, sucking down, and fighting people who are like enormous in strawweight. Oh, hold on. Are you frozen there?
I think it depends on who we're talking about. Like, am I?
Yep, gotcha.
I'm alive.
You're alive.
I think it depends on who you're talking about, because I feel like every time someone suggests like this person would probably do better in flyweight, they're always like, no, I'm good actually. Like, Andrade is probably the best example, in my opinion, of a person who would probably do fine 10 pounds heavier. But she's like, no, I'd rather cut because she feels faster that way.
Yeah.
And she hits harder down there than she does in flyweight, which
she probably
respectable.
She probably hits the same or as hard, maybe harder at flyweight. The problem is there are going to be other women who are not going through a weight cut, so it's not going to be as effective. So the one thing that she had, I mean, this is just me talking out of my ass, but the one thing I feel like she has over strawweight, because she's very small. What is she, like 5'1", 5'2"?
5'1", yeah.
Most of the people that she fights at strawweight only have like 2 or 3 inches on her, whereas, you know, that same difference in measurement is going to be even more exacerbated by the fact that people can hit you harder versus just like them having salt and pepper punches in strawweight and you're the only person in there with a hand cannon. You know what I mean? Like she's able to put so many people away by just gripping them up and dumping them on their heads, or just like punching them like in these wild exchanges. And her boxing has gone much better. I don't know if you've seen her fight with Rose, but her boxing did get better, and it showed, and it was why she was able to stay awake that whole time.
The Rose fight is a good example of like why rematches can be cool, because they both clearly learned a lot from their last fight. In fact, this is the first time I've seen Andrade move her head.
Yeah.
And she moved it a lot, which is like super duper important.
It's important, but there's a couple things that you see with people who are just learning like the fundamentals in boxing or kickboxing, is that they kind of lean on one thing a little bit too much. Now, I'm not saying Rose is an athlete, like she's a phenomenal athlete, but over time she was able to pick her apart because her head was only staying but in 1 or 2 lanes. Like, she wasn't, like, rolling her shoulders and picking different angles. She was doing that Tyson roll, but that was it. Like, that was about the only
She was
roll
doing
that
the Tyson roll without the closing and without the punch power. Like,
right.
She has incredible power and was hitting
she fucked Rose
with
up.
some
Look at
really
her face.
with some hard shit.
Yeah.
But she lacked the speed and the precision. You know, Tyson used to do these fucking Dempsey rolls in a way that was like blinding.
Right.
Like he would teleport under you, and you're like, how the fuck? And then before you even think about it, you're dead.
But the difference between his game and her game that night is she only used the Dempsey roll to, like, she was closing the distance and she was sneaking shit off, but Tyson was finishing combos inside. If he wasn't getting the knockout with the one uppercut or the one hook from the outside, he was finishing the combo to the body, you know, back up to the head. It seems like Andrade would get inside, throw one hard shot, land, and then back up or slip back out or whatever it is. Like, I felt like if she just used more clinch game, I mean, you know, we're playing Monday night quarterback here at this stage, and this is Rose, one of the greatest to ever do it, in there with her. But I just felt like she was leaning on just that one part of the game. So to me, that means if she can learn more, if she can learn a little bit more in that amount of time, and how to throw different combos and heavier combos from inside, and feel comfortable staying inside, because that's where her strengths are, then I feel like that's a winnable fight for her. Because she fucked. If you put the pictures of them side to side and didn't show somebody on the street what the score was, like, you'd be like, oh, I mean, she won, right? Like, like she won the fight, right?
Yeah.
Rose's face was broke the fuck up.
She did that damage, landing like a quarter of the punches Rose did.
Right.
Maybe like even less percentage of the significant strikes. And I think the problem with the committing to like big power combos after a roll into like the pocket is, we all know that Rose's defense set are two things: pushing off and stepping back, or throwing knees.
Right.
Every time Andrade attempted to clinch, she got a knee for it.
That's true.
Didn't always hit, but she hit 2 or 3 times early, so that was like always a thing now. And it's difficult to negate the knee and also be able to punch, like hook off more than once in the combo. So she kind of resorted to trying to, step under and then swing over. And
well, and that way, and you know this too from doing Muay Thai, you make the adjustments. Like, you might catch a knee, but you got to figure out ways around that. Like, you can't just abandon a strength that you can definitely get to. Here's the thing. I don't have a problem with the way she fought. She just didn't set any of that shit up. So she only hit, like you said, she only hit a quarter of the shots that she really wanted to. It was enough to hurt her. Like, she was fucking hurt. She was visibly hurt. But she could have landed maybe 50% of those shots. And who knows? That's a different fight. How long can Rose do? Rose can't do that for 5 rounds. If that's a 5-round fight.
At the beginning of round 3, she knew she was on the clock at that. Like,
right.
As soon as she hit her the first time in the first 30 seconds and saw Rose, like, trying to figure out where she was,
right.
She knew, like, if she had another round, it'd be over.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Tai, though, especially, is now you're playing back into Rose's advantage, which she's taller, has a longer reach, and and Thai fighters just kind of want to stand there and not avoid anything.
Right.
Brazilian, I mean, like, Thailand Thais, like, Dutch Thais are a little bit better at it, but there's no straight-up Thai fight with their skill levels that Andrade walks away from confidently. Like, she would have to kill this woman, but also take every shot that Rose was throwing at her, because Rose is piecing her up on the outside, and there's no way inside. There's no good way inside. And she was controlling the outside of the cage space really well, so you notice there was never really an opportunity to get pressed against the cage again.
Right, she was sweeping out. She was sweeping out for sure, or circling
which is how she got caught the first time.
Right,
and that's a great example of Rose learning on her end. A, she got her mind right and was like wanted to be there, obviously. But B, Andrade's like secret weapon, even though she has like a 6-inch reach disadvantage, is like there's a wall somewhere, and so long as they can get you near that wall, as long as you don't know the wall's coming, then you're playing her game again.
Right.
So I don't know that straight up striking in that way works for her, and I think she knows it too, which is why she's trying to get the head moving to pick better angles. It's just the hands were not coming with the head angles, like you mentioned. There was no other movement. There was just head and neck, shoulders, not even really great hand feints either. Like
that's my big thing is she was so focused on that head movement and not getting caught on the far ranges of Rose's reach. She didn't really focus about closing the distance and then opening up with more combos. She would just get those 1 or 2 strikes off. And that's what I was saying. I wasn't saying like I want to get her in a fucking straight up like Muay Thai brawl with her, but there are things that you can do in Muay Thai that would negate the fact of her just having that inside knee or taking it flush, or like there's built-in defense into Muay Thai that I feel like she could have taken advantage of just to stay inside of those clinches. I know that this is a nasty, a person that throws knees and elbows and all that stuff, but if you let her, which would happen, Rose was able to control the pace of the fight by circling her out. Every time she got any pressure against the gate, she was circling herself out. You're going to have to make the adjustment in that way where you can put up with her inside, because Rose doesn't want any type of smoke with her inside for a long period of time. Maybe a little bit just to get out, but you know, round 4, like, who's to say that she doesn't close that distance and she's able to finish those combos more? You start seeing Rose fade over time, and I don't think that has anything to do with her conditioning. I just think that
I think she just get hit really hard.
Yeah, she was gonna hit like with fucking bombs. So, but it makes me more excited to see what Andrade's gonna do next. That being said, I have no interest in seeing Rose fight Zhang Weili after watching that fight. No interest, because that is
it's tough. Because Zhang Weili is Andrade, but better in every
right,
way.
right. Like we saw, like she handled Andrade with such quickness. Like there was nothing there for Andrade to go back into the drawing board and say, like, this is what we need to do. She just looked like she was just getting manhandled by a dude. Like there's no adjustment she could have made in that fight that would have made it any better for her. Because if you're staying at range, then Weili's has got the tangibles over you in that way, where she's not much taller, but she's tall enough to stay at a reasonable distance and kick your fucking head off. And inside, she's worse. She's worse inside because she's better at grappling than you are. She's physically stronger than you are, and she will hurt you so bad if you decide to stay inside of a clinch with her. And that's what we saw in the last fight. We saw her knee her Jessica Andrade to death.
Yeah. I mean, in Chinese mixed martial arts, it's the same kind of MMA for the most part, but the striking is a bit more complicated because these are coming from the same boxing and Thai bases, but there's also lots of like Chinese boxing and wushu bases that you can't really get here in a high level. So she's learning how to throw, straight chamber punches and not necessarily crazy Ip Man shit, but she's learning how to move these punches vertically in a way that's like incredibly difficult to study tape on and to prepare for if you've never seen it before. And she's training in these gyms that do it all the time. Yeah. So, like, where Andrade's like biggest adjustment she could have made against Rose is just check more, like checking some of those kicks early and returning, which is something she knows. She's an accomplished Thai boxer herself. Right. She doesn't have to stand in the shit with her for much longer than she has, but she should probably let the attacker know that she isn't going to be moved by these attacks. Even when Rose is planting, like, planting isn't enough to stop what often feels inevitable in Andrade's game. But, like, I don't know that there is, like, I don't know that you check, like, Lay's kicks and then feel good about it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it just seems like such a big mismatch because, it's one thing for Rose when Andrade was fighting Rose the first time, it was pretty much a general consensus that, like, Rose is pretty more far advanced in striking as far as technique goes and just like her overall defense. And we all knew if Jessica were to win, she's got the ability to win, but it would be like a one-punch KO, or she'd like,
it'd be some crazy Hulk shit, which happened.
Exactly what happened. She got dunked on her head and got KO'd. So we're like, all right, that was a fucking wild KO, but it was within the realm of possibility because we knew that Andrade is like just a specimen of a human being. Like, we know how strong she is. So the second time around, we're waiting for the big Andrade KO, but, like, if she was going to win the way that she was doing it. She was just going to fucking just keep catching her at the end of exchanges, and it was going to break her fucking face if she decided to stay inside with her. And who knows, in 5 rounds, maybe that's a main event. I would like to see number 3 of that. Not
I'm
right
really
away.
Interested.
Get another fight.
And also, to make sure Rose's nose in
right,
one piece.
right.
Like,
give her
she was
a
like
medical
rough at the end of that fight.
Yeah, give her some time to heal up.
But I've been like a big fan of Andrade
different.
since Joanna, since that fight, because she's kind of had the same problem since that fight. Right. And it's been a slow moving sort of progress to get out of that position. Right. And I think she's showing lots of promise that she can actually make that adjustment at this point in her career, because she's been fighting for a long time. Yeah, she's had a lot of pro fights.
Crazy though?
Like, at this point,
Rose. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I feel like it should be talked about, and particularly about Rose. She only has like 13 fights in the UFC. Like, she's been fighting for a minute, but she doesn't have that many pro fights. She's 9-4.
No, her career in the UFC is almost, you can play in like 2 acts.
Yeah.
Like she had her whole first half of her career was kind of just her out here.
Yeah.
And then like, I guess she linked up with Pat Barry.
That's what I wanted to talk about because.
And then like her whole career changed kind of after that.
There's some weirdness going on there. I didn't realize how old Pat Barry was, and I didn't realize how young Rose Namajunas was talking to Pat Barry at their gym.
Pat Barry. Oh yeah, Pat Barry is wilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he grooming? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
know.
Is this the question we got to bring up, America? Are we going to be the first to do it? Because it's strange, huh? Very strange.
Just, just Google it and make your own assumptions.
Make your own assumptions. Just
do the math.
Just look at their ages. Look at how much they're admitting to go out for, and then also realize that when she was a child, she went to that gym while he was coaching. That's all I'm saying. Very strange. And now
there's a line that you can read and follow,
right.
And at the end of it, listeners, tell us what you think.
Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about Rose having all these anxiety problems and her manager, coach, and mentor and husband, fiance, are all one person. You let us know.
Which I think is important because they've been engaged for a long time.
Yes. Am I saying go to your local gym and fuck the head coach and then marry them so you become a superstar?
Yes.
I'm not saying no.
No.
I'm not saying no. Maybe yes.
Put it on the table.
The answers are there.
Maybe take it off the table immediately. But just put it there real quick. Just look at it.
Is there some truth to vampires from other beings, from other dimensions, running our government and sucking on the flesh and energy of young children?
I don't know.
I
haven't seen one.
We'll throw it out there.
Seen one.
It's just out there. You can be.
And I will say though, riding the Pat Barry wave to stardom is probably like a pretty big risk.
That is a big risk.
So she's clearly in it for love because it's not like Pat Barry was on the come up necessarily. He was moving in a direction.
Yeah.
But I think the Czech Congo fight that he did eventually lose was the highlight of his career in the UFC.
Maybe that's why. Maybe Pat Barry's got a cult going on. You got to shave your head to join it.
Who else is in the cult?
I don't know. If you've got a child and they've shaved their head recently, just check in on them. That's all I'm saying. Look at their phone messages.
Yeah, go on the history. Or have they been on Pat Barry's Wikipedia in the past 48 hours? I don't know.
It's very strange that someone bought the same exact fucking Waco place that David Koresh had owned. And
interesting.
It's called Bad Motherfucker Ranch. Yeah, we won a little thing there. Someone brought it up because someone sent me a meme of The Rock sitting and eating lunch with a small girl. Like a very small girl. Like a 6-year-old. And it was like Pat Barry eating with his fiance Rose Namajunas. Their first date. I was like, what does that mean? And then I looked into it. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. No. It's like a lag switch. Yeah,
Speaking
that
of
was
bad motherfuckers.
Jose Aldo and Peter Yan at 135.
I think is Jose Aldo on the Maybe We Should Hang It Up tour now?
I just feel like every time he fights somebody, it's a top 5 guy. So when he loses, it's like it doesn't really do anything against his legacy. I just feel like he should just fight lower level guys. You know what I mean? Just fight like the rank 15 guy or something. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he could beat him.
Yeah, I don't know what he wants. Again, I don't know what fighters want when they fight at this level. Maybe they have nothing else to do, or they really do legitimately believe it just takes a couple wins to string together that they can get back in contendership or whatever. I think in Aldo's case, like, he could just stop fighting now and he'll be fine. Like,
yeah, because he's 28-7.
I mean, I don't know what fine. I say fine. I don't know what fine means really. Like, fine financially, fine in a legacy sense. I'm not sure.
I'd say in 3
the
fights,
UFC seems to have like a weird relationship with his legacy. For a while, so I don't know.
Because he's the reason. He's probably one of the reasons why Brazil is like so hot to buy pay-per-views. Is because for 11 to 12 years, no one was beating him. So he was the Brazilian mastermind for all of those years at featherweight. So I think his name still carries. And I mean, like, I know I get excited when I see his name, but then like when he starts fighting, I'm like, oh, here we are. I forgot about this part.
Yeah,
he threw leg kicks this time though, and it was good.
He's just not the same dude.
Yeah.
And it's obvious now.
If he was thinking about retirement at a later date, this fight definitely brought him closer to retirement. There's no way he did not. It's really
I think there was
sad.
a point in Rashad Evans' career where he decided that he was going to fight differently.
Yeah, 185. He decided to go down to 185.
And
he didn't look bad.
He didn't look bad.
No.
But 3 fights in, he was like, I'm good actually. Now, Rashad Evans had different opportunities.
Yeah.
He started to do broadcasting at the same time, so it's different for him. I just don't know what the incentive for Jose is besides being, king of Brazil with Anderson Silva. It took a while for Silva to get convinced to not do it, to stop fighting too. And I'm not sure Silva's actually stopped done fighting.
Right.
So maybe they're in the same boat there, but I'm sure he has got to have plenty of gyms. I imagine I can't imagine he's still working in someone's back lot in Brazil somewhere.
Although who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have to imagine he's still fighting because he's got the competitor spirit. But this is one of those fights that makes you question whether or not you have the competitor spirit or not, because Peter Yan's coming in there with just so much fury, and we got to see that. Even though Jose Aldo's skill level is still pretty high, and he actually kind of looked bigger at bantamweight than he did at featherweight. I don't understand that's possible. And he was competitive, but Peter Yan is just he's the champion. He is the true champion of the bantamweight division. And since I've seen Peter Yan fight, I'm there's not that many people in this division that can fight that well, and still be very dominant like that. And I feel like we're gonna see Peter Yan start to have a coming out party. I just really feel like Peter Yan is a part of a perfect storm, because I just don't feel like the UFC wanted him to be their champion, because he can't speak English. And he's not marketable because every time he's not fighting, he fucks off to Thailand and just disappears in the jungle for months at a time.
Yeah.
So it's he's literally on paper. If you're into MMA because of virtue or the virtue of martial arts and shit like that, he's your ideal candidate, because he doesn't do anything else but fight and train, and he's got no other. There's no, as far as I'm aware of, until some weird M1 Global shit comes up about his past, and maybe he was involved with the Russian mafia and killed somebody. Those are the only two things I can see. Unless those things happen, Peter Yan's not going to get in any type of controversy. He'll fight injured. He's not going anywhere. So if you're the UFC and you're like, fuck, how do I market this? We just had Henry Cejudo win, all these fucking awesome people who spoke English this whole time, and now he's going to fucking go out there and kill all of our superstars for the next 10 years? Fuck.
Fuck.
I don't want him to be there. But for me, as soon as I saw him fight, I'm that guy's going to be champ. It's just, he doesn't have Division I wrestling or anything like that. I think he knows enough, but he was just manhandling Uriah Faber and all these other pretty decent wrestlers. I'm going to be thrilled to see what happens between him and Aljamain Sterling. I think he beats Aljamain Sterling, but Aljamain has got all the tools to be a successful champion as well, but I just don't see anyone coming forward. He reminds me of Khabib in a lot of ways. Just a really dominant fucking force of nature that is not going to really change how he fights. You're just going to have to stand in there. He's going to make you stand in there and fight the way he wants you to fight him.
And he hasn't been forced to change how he's going to fight yet, because it works.
Right.
The reason Khabib is such a prolific wrestler is because no one's been able to stop it. I'm sure if someone found a hole, he'd fill it, but that's not there yet. Peter Yan's got a long career in front of him. I think my problem is with a lot of people in bantamweight is you could have a super successful bantamweight career and still no one know you.
Yeah.
No one really was trying to give Jose his flowers till he fought McGregor,
right,
and then lost in 13 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think if the UFC wanted to really, back this horse, you almost have to just let him disappear and come back and just be this mysterious man killer.
Yeah.
I feel like there is an opportunity to turn that into a marketable character you can respect.
Yeah, just the guy who he just emerges from the woods anytime his name is. There's no way to communicate with him, and the embedded is just going to be fucking Dana White in a full gray suit like getting flown in via like private helicopter. Like, we got a job for you. Like, they should do that every single time that he's got a fight. We have something for you.
Or like have Dana get in the rickshaw, like get like ran down a dirt road, like he has no idea where he is.
Right.
He's out there like beating up like giant cat-sized mosquitoes and shit, and then you just hear like this gradual thumping of Peter Yan kicking a tree over.
There's so many anime routes we can take with this, UFC, if you just let us be your marketing directors. But yeah, Peter Yan. I love Peter Yan. And I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I'm not sure he knows what the fuck he's saying, but we all know.
He's just out here, his mouth is moving, and I'm like, cool, dude.
It may as well be like Jet Dunham, like fucking puppet shit at this point. I know there's sounds coming out of his mouth, but I can't see how it syncs up at all. Could just be a technical issue with the UFC. You should fix it. But Peter Yan, I'm into him. I want to see what he does later on. I want to see. I think the next thing for him is going to be Aljo. Cody Garbrandt has got a fight linked up to, I don't remember against who, but it is someone pretty goddamn good. I'll look that up real second. Cody Garbrandt. Peter Yan. Wait. How can they? Well, I know. Okay, so Marlon Moraes and Cody Garbrandt were scheduled, but I think Marlon Moraes tested positive for COVID, so we don't know.
Yeah, he got COVID like I think this week. Is when that story broke. No,
they say he's still targeting his return, so I guess that means that it doesn't stay in your blood that long. I don't know how it works. I don't know how COVID works, so. But
I don't know either. I imagine it's like a normal flu, but kills people sometimes.
Kills people just like the flu. This is
like
also
the flu.
this is also an anti-vaxxer podcast.
99% of people survive without going to the hospital.
Why that accent? God,
I
it made it better.
Looked around and I was like, yeah, that person's walking by my car. I'm like, that person would probably have this accent.
He
and
sounds
that's
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt is like always been a dude like I dislike for no reason.
Because he just
not
looks
his
like
fault.
he just looks like he just. No, you dislike him for a reason because you know exactly what type of person he is. Because we grew up around them for like 30 years.
They're all like 19 of these dudes.
All fucking jocks at their school who are athletic, and they just like have no outlet other than racial slurs and shit like that. Like. He used to say nigga all the time. He was like Mike. He was Mike Perry like 2.0 at one point in his career. But he cleaned it up. He got a fresh fade. His shit talking stays within the framework of Twitter. He doesn't pop off too bad. So I think he's making a rebound. I think we can allow him back into our good graces, Jared. Okay?
He doesn't dance in the middle of the ring before getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are all.
He did kind of dance. He did kind of dance though a little bit. But that's because he knew his skill level was so much higher than Raphael, so he could afford.
Yeah.
It.
I just want, and I'm not saying that there isn't a second act Cody Garbrandt that I can get behind.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the first one I was like, nah, bro. I've definitely trained with you. I trained with someone like you before, and I hated that dude too. So.
Maybe he changed his ways. Maybe he's more adult now.
Right, and I'm thinking that he recognizes that like he wasn't going to get the fucking Conor McGregor rocket launch to the top.
Yeah.
Acting like that because you have to be pretty good too,
yeah, you
and
have
like
to win your
you
fights.
Can't be that and then lose like every third fight. It's not going to work out.
Not every third fight. You can't get knocked out 3 times in a row by 2 different athletes the same way.
Yes.
You can't let that happen to you and then be cocky.
Right. So, I'm glad he got his attitude in order.
There are, I don't know. I think it would be cool. But speaking of Cody Garbrandt, T.J. Dillashaw's suspension's over in like 2 or 3 months, so I would expect to see that rematch in the second half of 2021.
Maybe, and I imagine it'll be full of very polite back and forth between these two respectful gentlemen.
Nah, Cody's gonna be like,
because.
You steroid
I don't
monkey.
see any reason why Cody would. Yeah, 100% that.
Yeah.
Oh, you been on steroids, you little bitch?
Yeah. He's gonna get a little. He's gonna
going to find people's moms and shit.
It's gonna be like how Stella got her groove back, and he's gonna knock out a couple more people, and then he's gonna just be waiting in the cut for T.J. Dillashaw in the next couple months, and just gonna say some vile, reckless shit against T.J. And T.J.'s gonna sit there and be like, This is correct. I can't say anything back because, well, he will. He'll be like,
right.
fuck you, bitch.
No, the two of them are going to fight in, like, a grocery store, like Booker T and Stone Cold in, like, 1999 or whatever. Yeah. And that'll be the real fight I want to see. I don't even care who ranks up after that. I don't give who gives a shit about belts after that. I'm very curious about what TJ Dillashaw's life looks like after suspension.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's you know, I don't think it's necessarily, like, completely a one-to-one fair assessment to make with people who get dinged for roids, that, like, everything they did no longer matters because they were on roids. Right. I think there's a context here.
Well, I think he was very upfront about the context of his taking steroids. He's like, I truly believe that, because he pissed hot for Garbrandt's second fight for Cejudo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was an incredible amount of pressure on him, and he detailed this. And I mean, he could just be fucking lying. Like, he just could just flat out be lying.
Could be lying, but that sounds like why people do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's pretty candid. Like, he felt, like, inferior in what he was doing and used this to get an edge. Like, that's exactly why you do it.
He said he didn't want to...
I don't see why he'd be lying.
He said it was... I did it for the pressure of the situation the second time around because I had knocked him out already, and I wanted to keep my strength because I felt like I was doing a lot of conditioning. He felt like he was going to become more prepared. And then when he fought Cejudo, he was like, I was going down to 125, so I didn't have nearly as much of the power that I wanted, so he did, like, EPO or some shit. So he was able to keep. So it didn't make a difference because he still got fucking beat.
Yeah.
And that is and I think that's why people are willing to forgive Dillashaw too, is because he was beaten by a better athlete, and it didn't matter that he did EPO. So there was, like, a huge mental component to why he was taking it to begin with. It wasn't necessarily that he thought it was gonna make him better, but it was gonna give him an edge over someone that he was gonna be lighter fighting against than he normally is.
Yeah, that's always the it's always like the fantasy narrative. Like, if you could write something like this, that's what you would write. Like,
right.
In the end, he didn't cheat. He cheated and still lost and learned a lesson.
Right.
And it'll be very easy to, if people choose to, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because I don't think anyone actually cares.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to sort of fold him back in like everything's normal because of those particular situations. I'm just wondering what his performance looks like now.
Right.
Is he still beating the same people the same way? I think I haven't seen him fight in like a year, but, like, if he's anything like the old TJ, probably. Like, he's still very talented.
Right.
Maybe not as big and strong, but I don't know, like, being big and strong with such range within margins, like, maybe doesn't matter as much so long as you're just technical. If you're still precise and you can still, put jabs wherever you want them, like TJ can. Like,
well,
it might not be a big situation.
Well, now more than ever, because it's not like he took a break for 2 years because he was injured. He took a break for 2 years because he wasn't allowed to because of a sport. I mean, I would have to believe that he's been staying in relatively, like, his strength and conditioning must be all strength based, just to keep the strength. And then and maybe mobility and different things like that with, hitting mitts and shit like that, maybe grappling or whatever. He's been training hard for 2 years, and he's able to rest his body. So he might come back a better physical version of himself. And if USADA isn't a fucking mafioso-run regime, because TJ Dillashaw didn't really leave in bad terms with the UFC, because the UFC was using TJ Dillashaw as the guy to dethrone some guys for a minute. But, I don't imagine that he's going to piss hot again, because they're going to be he's going to be more under the public eye than he was before about steroids. But they lost Brock Lesnar shit, so
like, he's probably going to get tested a lot though. Like,
yeah.
The difference with, like, someone like Lesnar is he was clearly brought in to be an attraction once, so like, they were like, we'll just fuck it, who cares?
Deuce is wild. Yeah. We'll figure it out later.
Come hit this dude in his fucking head. We're gonna pay you $5 million or whatever, and get the fuck out of here.
Right. Bop him on the head, and he did exactly that. And then we're like, as soon as Brock stepped in there, we're like, and then Mark stepped in there, having come off with these rough losses and starting to develop dad bod from his age. Like, Brock Lesnar was like looking like bigger than he ever was, and this sadness started creeping in. Like, oh my god, this is about to be so horrible. And then he just held him down and just pelted his fucking head with hammer fist. It was so terrible.
And shout out to Mark Hunt for being very
articulate on Twitter,
adamantly and like 100% justifiably upset by what the fuck happened there, because it was transparent.
Yeah,
and he lost. I don't know. So what I will say is I don't know that Mark Hunt lost because Brock Lesnar was on roids. I think Brock Lesnar was just beating the shit out of people like that for 30 years, and this is how he lives.
And he just came back way stronger.
Hunt, right. I don't know that Mark Hunt ever had the skill set to stop that from happening to him.
Yeah.
But like. It's so like everyone knows Brock Lesnar did not go through any regimen, like any testing regimen there, and they just kind of misplaced the results. And he was rushed in to just be an attraction and to make a statement to Vince's bosses or to Vince to try to, and Brock himself and Heyman were using both of them as just like a fucking ping pong table to try to get the most money out of one of them. Yeah. It was all bullshit, and Mark Hunt saw it all, so. You should be upset.
It's like,
he was never going to win that fight.
You filthy fucks. Yeah. It's like, you filthy fucks. But he wasn't going to beat DC, so like, it's not like it was going to be like a better.
Right. So like, what the fuck? What does it matter? Not that TJ Joe saw Brock Lesnar, but maybe he could be. Who knows? Maybe he comes back and he's 6'4".
Yeah. EPO doesn't do that to you.
No, that's cyberpunk shit. You wouldn't get a new skeleton, I think.
That's what I call puberty. Am I right?
Yeah.
But I don't even think Cody Garbrandt's on this card. But where did we leave off?
No.
We're talking Peter Yan and
yeah,
the ghost that is now Jose Aldo.
So I didn't.
Did you watch the 2 minutes of him getting hammered in the back of his head and the ref just not doing anything about it?
And I was like, that's still illegal.
Yeah.
A minute in.
Yeah.
It's like when I watched Silva just reach into Chael Sonnen's shorts in the second fight and just pull him by his jockstrap into his punches. And I'm like, we all see this as illegal, but no one gives a fuck.
Yeah. It's resourceful. It's resourceful is what it is. Improvise, adapt, overcome, Jarrett. Mm-hmm. That's how you get on the bandwagon.
So really, it's just a man seeing his surroundings and punching them.
Yes.
In the back of the head illegally.
Yes.
Which
Peter Hunt felt so sad about doing that to Jose Aldo. He expressed it afterwards. He's like, that referee kept it so much longer than it had to.
I just want this man to kill me or him and let this stop. I don't want to punch him for another minute straight.
It was so horrible.
There's another fight I'm missing that there's one big fight I missed. I saw Usman.
Jorge, are you talking about Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway? You didn't see that?
I missed the Max Holloway apparent robbery.
It was an actual robbery. It was
everyone very upset by that.
It was a close fight, and I know you're not supposed to characterize close fights by robbery, but just how it unfolded is literally a robbery in the way that Max Holloway won 3 rounds in a row, and it wasn't undisputable. So while they were close,
Volkanovski he won the last 2 so hard that he also won a third suddenly.
But here's the thing: he didn't even win the last 2 so hard. He scored 2 takedowns spread over 4 and 5, but Max just stood them up. So that was like the only difference that Max didn't do to Volkanovski is Volkanovski didn't score a takedown the whole fight on Volkanovski, but he did stand up 2 takedowns. And I thought that's how we were supposed to be grading the takedowns. If I'm not incorrect, it's like if you take someone down and you get the points for getting the takedown, but if you don't do anything else, then like doesn't it kind of negate the fact that you took them down and were unable to like keep him there for long periods of time? It's not like he imposed his will upon him while he took him down. He stood him up against both times, both takedowns. I'm fairly positive. Let me look real quick. Okay, so he had 3 takedowns over the last 2 rounds. It says that Volkanovski has won in significant strikes, but that has to be over the last couple rounds. But regardless, you got to look over how on round by round basis how it accumulated in that way. Because he definitely won those first three fucking rounds. And I even watched Michael. Maybe I was just too high and I just missed stuff. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Like he definitely beat him those 3 rounds, and then Volkanovski like kept the same And this is to in no way disparage Volkanovski, because Volkanovski is clearly very fucking good if he was able to go the distance with Max Holloway 2 times, and it was like close. And regardless of the fact, people felt this way the first time. People said that I saw more people more balanced about the last one because Volkanovski scored a lot of leg kicks, and versus Max Holloway not scoring as nearly as many, but it was still close. It was kind of up in the air. Whereas this one, the general consensus is Max won those first 3 rounds.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it. I know lots of my constituents not excited about that, and what sucks is like, do you do a third now? Like,
I don't know, man.
Like,
do you give someone else a shot? Because I don't even want Max Holloway to fight anyone else. But at the same time, Max Holloway has not been able to finish Alexander Volkanovski in both fights for 10 rounds now. So
that's what I mean. Like, there were, even if there were a close 10 rounds, every single round, it's still 2 losses.
Yeah.
Even if they were both robberies, which the first one I agree maybe wasn't. If you can't do it, if you can't finish it, then I don't know. I think this happened to.
Do you go up?
Didn't No, Thompson did definitely lost the second one against Woodley. But I think I don't know.
Oh, hold on.
No, like is it and like forcing? Is there any other really? Like,
oh, there you are. Fast. It did a weird like you know that like in Metal Gear Solid 1 when the ninja does like the whole fucking all over the place. It was happening.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I do see myself as a Mr. X sort of ninja. I guess like what kind of fights are in the adjacent weight classes? Like, A, does he lose weight and go down? Because that
I don't think that
seems silly.
Solid move. I mean, he could. I'm sure he could do it, but he already looks terrible.
But why?
Cutting down to
what's he cutting? Right. Yeah. What is he cutting to get to where he is at now? Like, 10, 15 more pounds seems like how you die.
Yeah.
Or
you just like
but
are
moving
great,
up doesn't seem like the best move either.
Or you're like a great like Jose Aldo, and you cut down and just get beat up by people because they're fully fine at bantamweight, and you're not fine at bantamweight.
Or you're a freak of nature like Masvidal. You cut 22 pounds. It's discouraging, but I think Max Holloway has that he is like super valuable,
right,
and is very good at this.
Right.
Dana White can't be excited about that outcome either.
No.
So I don't think the company is going to lose faith in him. I just don't know how to, project what the rest of 2020 and what 2021 looks like for him.
Right.
It's a frustrating position to be in, I think.
And all of this is because of you, Henry Cejudo. You should be very ashamed of yourself because you could have just stayed there and been nice to all of us.
And just killed everyone again.
Yeah. And then you could have
Henry
jumped
Cejudo
up and defeated the all terrible Volkanovski in fisticuffs, and then we would get Max Holloway versus Henry Cejudo, which is what we all want.
He was more interested in trying to fight a cyborg.
Yeah.
And now he's in, I don't know, some South American jungle eating fucking fruit off someone's feet, I guess. I don't know what he does.
Very vivid picture. I don't know that we needed that, but we have it.
Yeah, I don't even know that's true. But
fair.
I'm trying to picture what retired Henry Cejudo looks like, and I can't. So I had to make something up.
I feel you. And then this brings us to our main event: Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. Give me 1 second. I want to get my my charger from my laptop so this doesn't die. I'm looking at my thing now, and I'm like, oh, this is dying. So I don't want this to die.
Okay.
I don't want to get cut out. Give me 1 second. This will be edited, but probably not because I'm lazy.
The main event.
We left off in a Jorge. Just the fight, but how did you feel about this falling into the way this fight having been offered to Masvidal because it wasn't the amount of money that he thinks that he is. Then coming to a middle ground, which seems business for the most that hold out, is something happening, them being ready to, now you need me,
now
and,
you need me.
And now you've set the precedent. Now that you've set the precedent for what's going to happen next, I have to. It's only up from there. So obviously that was like a strategy, and gambling.
I think if it's a strategy, and I think you said you force them to need you, and you get the dollar amount or close to the dollar amount that you asked for in return, and I think if he had won that fight or lost it in a way that was more convincing, he'd be in a good position to negotiate, like whatever the next part of this contract is. I know now Masvidal is out there saying that was like a one fight thing, and now it's a renegotiating thing from that on. But I feel like you're in a much better position if you didn't get Randy Couture for most of that fight. That said, I'm never going to besmirch someone taking as much money as possible from Dana White.
This is the podcast of Trey eating his own shit, his own fecal matter once again, because I felt as if though before for Sean O'Malley, I didn't think it was smart that he said that he would hold out for a better fight. I said the same thing about Jorge Masvidal. I've said the same thing about Conor in that respect. And all three of those individuals have made me eat my own shit. Like, made me shit into a cup and then eat it. In that exact order. For the simple fact that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about sometimes. Clearly, right? I mean, there was a strategy in place that, and this is like a good moral of the story, is like, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not achievable for that individual. And for Jorge specifically, he knew that he had built this crazy cult fan base. He knew that he is now a top figure in the sport because they had granted him that ranking, that higher ranking over beating several people. Darren Till, Wonder Boy? Did he beat Wonder Boy? Or no, I'm thinking of... no, that's Anthony Pettis. I don't remember
if he beat Wonder Boy. I know he beat Askren.
He now holds the record for the fastest KO. Now his status is brought to this level where it's as big and technically bigger than Conor's because Dana White had expressed that Jorge's antics and his viewership broke the records of 2019, or they made the most money that they made more so with Jorge's shit in the retail store versus everything they made in 2019. They've already beaten their 2019 numbers for retail because of the last few months, and possibly mostly because of Jorge. They also the streaming numbers. I'm not sure if the pay-per-view numbers are out yet. I'm sure they are, but they're saying these are Conor numbers. For someone to do this in 6 days' notice,
they are it's 3.1 million. That's the highest since the last Conor. Since Conor.
So now they have a superstar in the making, and they followed all of these. I'm assuming a business plan that the Cowell brothers put together for them with first round, and they gamble. It was like a very. It was I believe it was like a low risk, high reward type of gamble in the way that the risk is low for anything really bad to happen because Jorge is coming off of wins and spectacular wins at that. So it's a low risk because if something comes down the line and they're like, you know what, we're going to pay you what we're going to pay you, but you'll be a part of a pay-per-view, he still wins in that regard because he gets the pay-per-view points and he gets the name, and I'm sure he'll get the main or co-main or whatever the case may be and the production behind him. But that's like the lowest that could have possibly happened to him. The highest reward for him is to essentially wait out. COVID is taking fighters left and right, not left and right, but enough off of cards for it to be a reasonable suspicion that something like that could happen to somebody who's not really, not anybody. Anyone, like, if you're staying home, you have less of a risk of getting COVID. But if you're out training all the time in Florida, and Florida is where Gilbert Burns trains, they just plainly don't give a fuck in Florida about anything. So the risk is higher. He's going to train in a facility that there's going to be a ton of people training in and out all the time. And it's just the general gamble of catching COVID is still high for just people. So the risk for him is low, but it's high that someone might fall out of an event within the next few months. And the next few months, everything's either going to be in Abu Dhabi or it's going to be in the Apex. So there's going to be guaranteed viewership towards the UFCs. And I think they're going to have like a lot of these bigger UFCs in Abu Dhabi, the pay-per-views. Although, they had one of the Apex ones? They had one of the pay-per-views in an Apex early, but I think
they had, I think, all of them until
the last two are Yas Island. Yas Island.
Well, yeah,
right.
The one yesterday was Yas Island. The one before that, Apex, but everything before
Apex
that was
Florida.
Apex.
They did one in Florida.
Oh yeah, they did do one in Florida.
Regardless, I think they're going to be shooting for these Abu Dhabi ones, and Abu Dhabi seems to be the spot right now for viewership because they're doing well with the numbers there. And the facility is like more control, so I would imagine they're going to have they've only scheduled their UFCs up until August 5th. So past UFC 252, there's nothing available to see that I could see on through search engines. So they can.
I think it's difficult to know because of like how they can get they can't get foreign people like into the US. So like Abu Dhabi is going to be the move if you want fighters who are not American.
Exactly. So you have that brilliant game plan put together.
I don't know like what that
you cut out. Your voice cut out. I thought you were done talking.
Yeah,
I was going to say you have that brilliant game plan, and there is definitely a gamble involved with it, but it doesn't really pan out poorly for Jorge. So it's more weighted towards Jorge because of the scenario that we're in now, facing COVID and facing people dropping out. And aside from that, people just get fucking injured. Some people just get injured. So now compound that with the fact that you can catch a disease and it keeps you out from fighting the event. So this is like a fucking genius thing. So like before, I'm still thinking like everything's normal. You know what I mean? Like everything's not normal anymore. Not that the way of waiting for cards is crazier than it was before because there's more risk associated with fighters getting to certain locations. So fucking excellent play by Jorge, and off the cage and then inside the cage. Well, you can talk about that too. Like I felt like it was more competitive than I've seen Kamaru Usman fight someone before. He was getting whooshed. He's getting whooshed.
Oh, that's probably true.
But he wasn't able to put Jorge away. He wasn't able to knock him out. He wasn't able to, submit him. And those are the ways that we've seen Usman finish people. And we kind of see if it's not, if Usman doesn't finish you via KO or TKO or submission, he usually does what he does to Jorge. He wears on you, he beats on you, makes it uncomfortable, and he wins points every single round. So there's no discernible way for the judges to fuck it up. Like he controlled most of the exchanges, but there was still like Jorge was still violent up until the 5th round. That's the only reason why I've seen so many more fighters go in there and wilt about round 3, round 4, and then just kind of go through the motions if they don't get TKO'd or KO'd or submitted. And Usman, it looked like he was struggling a little bit controlling most of the fight, but he did control most of the fight. He struggled. Jorge put up a very good struggle. I don't think though more time for Jorge training necessarily translates into more of a way for Jorge to win over Usman, because I feel like he's been training for Usman this whole time. I think he knew he was going to be going after Usman in the next couple of months, and he's been training the whole time for Usman. I don't see how. Yeah,
he's kind of said as much. Like those two, like the story they painted leading up to this fight was that after Jorge Masvidal turned his life around last year and his career around, he has done nothing except what all the champions have, basically. And once Usman was that guy, I mean, he wanted it when Covington was champion. Like, he only gives a fuck about who the champion is. And as soon as that was Usman, he made it a point to make himself in every conversation that Usman was mentioned in. I think you're accurate when you say he's been studying for this dude since he was champion, since he won the belt. And the way because the first 3 rounds, Masvidal was like scrapping at every second he could. Like, he was out the gates running around this man.
Being conservative, you can almost say that Jorge won the first round, in my opinion.
In fact, I would confidently say that I
Yeah.
think most of that round suggests he won it. Just by staying busy, controlling when the action happened. Like that's
Yeah.
the kind of like intangible stuff. So like
No.
it's not like he was out of shape. And like he wasn't reacting to what Usman's plan was that everybody kind of knew was going to happen. Like he was stuffing early takedowns. He didn't stay in the clinch too long. He was sprawling well. Like he was doing what you would do against a wrestler that you knew.
I would say that he stood up most of his
of
his takedowns, even in later rounds. So his conditioning was there. It's just I think the skill level might be too high when you're talking about Usman, who
and it doesn't mean he couldn't fight. He couldn't learn
He's a phenomenal athlete
to do better. I just don't think that. I just don't think the fact that it happened in 6 days is necessarily the reason that he lost this fight.
Yeah.
Kamaru was just better.
I think that's the reality. The reality is that.
And I would think he would tell you that. Like after the post-fight interview at Masvidal, he was kind of not really eating his hat, but like was accepting and honoring the fact that like this dude's good. And, like he was talking a lot of shit about Usman, and maybe not so much his skill, but he spent a lot of time making sure everyone knew that he felt he was not the better man. And I want to
give a little bit of kudos to Usman, more kudos to Usman in the fact that I feel like as big as it is a big ticket name and a big high risk thing for Jorge's in a win-win either way, because he lost and everyone goes, 6 days, maybe a little bit. Most people would either do that or say what we said, Usman defeated him methodically and by the way that he normally does. But either or, you know, I still respect Jorge coming in there being competitively, and it seems like the other half saying that maybe after 6 days they believe that he can even beat Usman. So for Jorge, it only really elevates his stock. For Usman, he's got everything to lose, fighting a completely different fighter. A completely different fighter than Gilbert Burns. I'm not saying that to take anything away from Gilbert Burns. I feel like it wouldn't have been as big if Gilbert Burns was fighting Usman. It would have been big, but it wouldn't have been nearly as big as Jorge.
No.
They're not breaking through 1 million.
It would have been big off the strength of Usman's sort of draw, and not off the sort of two of these sort of opposing forces finally meeting.
Right. They were very respectful, and it would have been very. I feel like it would have been a good fight. You know, maybe we've even seen a similar result in the way that we saw with Jorge. But I didn't see anything out of Gilbert Burns that made me think that he was going to go out there and knock Usman out cold. That's not how he wins fights. I'm not saying he can't strike. The motherfucker can strike. Oh, that motherfucker can strike. But when you're talking about Usman...
But Usman went down to Henry Hoof in Florida to get his striking together for this fight. So you can strike, but can you strike against something like that?
They train together at the same gym. So Usman actually went to train with Justin Gaethje and yeah.
Well, yeah, Usman went to he went to Colorado or whatever.
Elevation, but hey, apples to oranges in the way that that's a really good fucking camp. Like it's not the same camp, but they're going to almost a better facility in that way. If you just look at their records of fight, you know how many champions are in that gym versus how many champions are in this gym right now. Not to downplay Hard Knocks 365 because there's so many good people that go there, and then you have Henry Hooft and all these other places. But Trevor Whitman and those guys have got a phenomenal camp there. I think he won Coach of the Year last year or this year for the mid year thing or
this
whatever.
Year, I think. Yeah.
But regardless of the fact, that wasn't lining up to be the same thing, and we were going to expect the same thing to happen. Whereas Jorge, man, that's different. That's a complete different fighter. We know he's been preparing for Usman this whole time, and he's just got that intangible KO clutch factor that he can just pull out of his ass, which he's been doing for the last 3 or 4 fights that he has. He's got the power and he's got the athleticism to knock out just about anybody. So that's a huge fork in the road. And if you listen to Usman talk about him moving on, they didn't tell him that they were lining up another fight. So they said, "Hey, fight's off." He's in Florida. He leaves back on the plains. He goes back to Florida. He's eating normal, yada yada yada. And then they call him like, "Hey, now you've got to fight." And he's like, "Well, dude, I wish you fucking told me." Yeah.
Before I hit this cake
so now
up,
he's got to get himself back in the fight gear. So that throws him off. So he's coming off of he's like, that's him as a champion. That's how much I have so much respect for Usman as a champion. He didn't come up with a reason for why he couldn't fight. He figured it back out, even though he had a little bit of an off day. Goes back out there, implements the same game plan. And then another thing I want to see, because I hear a lot of people bitching and complaining about how he won, which is historically like how he's always won, is if he's not going to knock you out, why not win on the card? People were bitching at him for doing the foot stomps.
Especially since he's champion, like there's a lot to lose. Just by going up anyway, for who? Right. Like, not for him. Doesn't help him out at all. Right. Winning is what's going to help him out.
Winning is what's going to help him out, and then on top of that, they were bitching about him doing like the foot stomps, and I'm like, hey. I'm trying to break it down. Like, what do you think it is? You think it's like pussy to do that? Okay, I'm like, okay, all right. Maybe let's say that I'm fighting you and I'm doing that, and what do you think you're gonna do to stop me from doing that, right? So like, oh well, then like you'll come up with like whatever bullshit. Like, okay, if you don't think that Jorge didn't want to not be there, getting his foot stomped on, like he was trying to get out of the position, he just couldn't. He was being put in a position, so. Usman is got this wrestling background. I don't know if you've wrestled with a lot of top tier people before, but they punish you when they have a position over you. You get like some elbows in the ribs, make it hard for you to bleed. Hand over the mouth. Like no one's calling Daniel Cormier a bitch for putting his hand over someone's mouth and their nose to disrupt their breathing. You know what I mean? Like Usman was making it uncomfortable for him to stay in that position because Jorge was not he was not strong enough to get him off the gate and make him stand in the center. So if you're going to use all of your strength, he's going to try to burn you out. He's going to make you uncomfortable. I thought it was a brilliant and evidently, now we know that counts as a significant strike. He was so up on the scorecard.
Yeah, that I didn't know. That was that's like the most surprising thing I've learned in MMA recently is that a stomp is a significant strike. I had no idea. It makes sense.
He probably broke his foot.
Because toe bones
probably broke his fucking feet, and then as time goes on, now you're not moving as limber, and you're not defending better. But Jorge toughed it out. But we've seen lesser people with broken appendages like just crumble under certain pressure like that. But it wasn't like it seems like a jeer in the way that they're kind of like trying to rob him of his dominance. If you took those foot stomps out, he still wins. He's just running up the score to make sure. I'm going to win this round. I'm not going to give you any type of leeway to get away with winning a round off of me in some of the exchanges, because Jorge was winning some of the exchanges, but not all of them. But these judges seem to be fucking up a little bit in Abu Dhabi a little bit. So run up the score if you got to run up the score, dude. Like, if he really wants you to stop foot stomping, then he'll figure out a way to get out of it.
And also, it's not illegal.
It's not illegal.
It's a legal strike. It's a tool. If you don't want to get your foot stomped, don't be in a position to get your foot stomped. I don't want to get hit in the face, so I don't put myself in a position to get hit in the face. Like that's like when Diaz, both of them, used to shit on wrestlers for grappling them. They just want to come in and strike with you, and that's what they believe honorable combat looks like, which is fine. But also, there's a other whole part of this rule book that you have to read too, because that's not going to happen.
Right.
Because you want it to happen. And you're not going to shame someone into not taking you down and wrestling you. And people have been stomping on feet in UFC for 15 years. Longer than that, probably.
Yeah, he's the only person I've actually ever seen implement it and it be successful. Like, aside from him running up the score, he significantly slowed down his movement by breaking his feet. His feet are... There's no way you can convince me his feet are not broken at the end of that fight.
I'm pretty sure John Jones has done it. Couture was famous for it. In fact, that whole lean against the cage, stomp your feet until you either, put yourself in a position to get thrown or stand there and just take it. That's straight out of Couture's whole playbook. He brought that there, and everyone basically are children of that, which is great. And if this is something that happened in 2001 and worked, it's not going to go away. You can't shame and emasculate someone into not foot stomping you. If you don't want to see it, then don't do it. Also, I've only ever heard that from people who did not fight Kamaru Usman. I think that the sort of campaign to make fans think is funny, but also doesn't fucking matter. Like, in the same way they try to convince people that jujitsu, like that 15 minutes of jujitsu is boring and not fun to watch, that's stupid too. Like, maybe people just need to get into this idea that, like, MMA does involve things you don't like, but things you need to know about, and things that are fair game. And those are not, those things are mutually exclusive. Like again, there are plenty of things I don't like about fucking combat sports that I know that if I'm going to get into a ring for an exhibition, for an amateur fight, for even training and sparring with people, that's just going to happen to me. And I fucking don't like it, but it's going to happen. I'm going to get worked on the wall for 10 minutes if I don't do anything about it. I'm going to get hit with straight. I can't throw elbows in amateur fights, and I know that part of my clinch game is knowing that everyone super dislikes my elbows, but I can't throw them in many of the rule sets I've competed in. And that fucking sucks. But it is what it is. Part of the game. Like,
it's part of the game.
It's fucking, and we need to get past this idea that, like, things that are legal can be good and bad. Like, things that are illegal are bad. You should not be lowballing people. You should not be elbowing people behind their heads.
Yeah.
That's bad.
No.
Stepping on someone's fucking foot while they're standing. Listen, bro. It's not like he was like on all fours and you're stepping on his fingers. Like, that's illegal.
Can't do that.
That's fucked up. Can't do that.
But that's just about how I felt about that. I mean, I feel like Jorge now opens up all these possibilities and makes welterweight much more, like, not watchable, because it was definitely watchable before, but it brings so many more eyes to it. It adds another layer of, like, just depth to the characters. And now we're gonna get to see, like, more and more matchups with Jorge against the top level guys, and I think they've been kind of hinting about it. But Jorge and Conor are on the table as people who are going to fight possibly. But Jorge can fight just about anyone in the top 5, and garner that much interest.
I think he definitely needs another top 5 fight, in my opinion. I think his last 4 fights have been amazing, short of this fight. And he really is a different person. Yeah. Like, both in the ring, but, like, outside the ring, he's, like, completely changed himself. Become, like, a character, wearing, like, bathrobes to fights and shit.
On some Scarface shit.
But I think he, like, top tier, continuing to murder top tier dudes is, like, how this character continues to work.
He might have to fight Leon Edwards or Colby Covington.
He may. Colby Covington, I think the problem with Colby Covington is, like, I think they have the same fan base. Which, I mean, could still be a draw, ultimately, but, like, I don't know, like, does one pass the torch to the other? I have no idea.
Didn't Jorge come out in a fucking Donald Trump mask?
I think he did. Yeah.
Very strange.
But I like, there are definitely, it's not over for, and no one thinks it is, but it's definitely not over for Masvidal. I think he's made his point. He just needs the W's need to keep coming if he's going to take this to the next level. Clearly, the UFC thinks he's the next level because he's on the cover of the fucking video game next to Izzy. Yeah. But
I think, and this could be me reading into it a little bit too much, but that's like half this podcast is me reading into things too much. I think the more vile Jorge talks about somebody, as far as like in passing in these post-fight conferences or the pre-fight shows or whatever, I feel like that's going to be his biggest target. So like, and the reason why I say that is because I saw him talking at the end of Usman in high spirits, talking about possible fights and stuff like that. And someone brought up Colby, and he was like, "Nah, I'd never fight that." But he's the only person he talked negatively about. It's like, I wouldn't fight that bum because he went 5 rounds with Usman and got put out. So like, you can only imagine. I went all 5 and I didn't get put out. So you can only imagine what I do to him. Paraphrasing in that way. But that's like about the same amount of disrespect he had when he was talking about Usman leading up to this fight and other people, So, other people that he's lined up to fight with.
He could definitely be planting the seed,
for Covington to respond, and then he'll say some buck wild shit or whatever, and then he would, and then That would be strange, though, because they both fight out of ATT, so I wonder who would train where. Because Usman voluntarily removed himself from 365 because Burns was training there, and he felt like he wanted to get some stuff in with Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje. So that was an escape that he was allowed to make. I don't see Covington making that same, agreement. Right.
Yeah,
I don't think Jorge's doing that either. So I wonder what the head coach would say just to lessen, because I feel like Jorge is one to definitely walk up on Colby and punch him in his head for saying some wild shit on Twitter. Like, you're gonna say some shit on Twitter, we're sitting next to you, motherfucker? Like, you just put it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the bathroom,
right.
Dude.
So, I don't see that. So that would be interesting, and I would love to see how the drama unfolds. But the drama that would unfold may very well bar that fight from happening. Who knows? Like, maybe Colby doesn't take it out of threat of losing his ability to train comfortably at that gym. I don't see other gyms chomping at the bit to accept him into their fold, especially knowing that he can cause issues for the other professional fighters there. So that would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see if Colby removes himself from the situation and some sort of chess move to I'll be toxic from somewhere else because I don't like ATT anymore or wherever. But it would be interesting to see Jorge and Colby fight for the drama factor, but I would be more interested through a fight sense for him to fight Leon Edwards, because I think Leon Edwards, deserves it. I think he deserves to have that level of recognition because he for 2 years he was ranked 4 and 5 until they shuffled him around, which is unfair because he won his last fight against a high-level opponent. He picked apart Rafael dos Anjos. It wasn't even close.
It wasn't.
So for him to do that, I know he belongs in that top 5 category, but I just find it unfair. If he was 4 and Masvidal moves up to 4 because he beat who did Masvidal beat that pushed him up to 3 or 4? I don't think they were ranked that high. I know he beat Darren Till. But Darren Till was ranked 8 or 9 at the time. I know he beat
Was it? Maybe it was Thompson.
No, it wasn't Thompson. I don't think they fought. I know Thompson beat him earlier in their career, I think, because he said that he would like to run that back. But I don't see where he makes the jump that high, because Nate Diaz wasn't even ranked that high when he beat Nate Diaz, and that was his last fight before he beat before he fought Usman. So it's a little unfair that they pushed Leon Edwards out of that category for the simple fact that he's not nearly as big, but he's fought technically better guys in that time.
That's true. And honestly, I think it's time for Leon Edwards to enter the chat, if you will. I think he has the tools to at least be a top, maybe a high tier character in that weight division. I think I've yet to see something from Leon that tells me he's
I don't think
future,
he'll be the champion,
but I don't think he isn't.
I think he can definitely. I think Jorge's a good matchup for that because Jorge will definitely be the headliner for the star power that the UFC needs, and then at that point, I don't think it really matters all that much as long as they've got a rank next to their name, who he's fighting. And Leon Edwards is a top 5 guy. I'm pretty sure he's a top 5, top 6. So it's a fight that makes sense. I want to see it just for the skill standpoint, and it still puts Jorge in the contention if he wins that fight, because look, I still got it, so I want my run back with Usman or whoever else that's up there, or Connor, to snag whoever at the time, to snag whoever the top bill is at that time. But I would like to see him fight Leon Edwards. I think it's more likely that he'll fight Colby Covington.
Is Connor still retired?
I don't know. He keeps piping up on Twitter every time somebody fights. So
I feel like that's just his gimmick.
But
convincing everyone he's not retired. It's
the gimmick is the other part of the gimmick is he goes radio silent for a week or 2 weeks, and then he starts marketing again. So it's every time he starts marketing again right before he fights. So he throws the retirement thing out there, and it's okay.
It's man.
I hate that. That drives me crazy. Now I feel like if you're gonna do it once. and reap the benefits of it, and then either disappear or stay in the sport, because it sours me to the fighter. And not that there's anything Conor Moore can do that can sour me to him in the sport, but it's like kind of annoying. I feel like there should be repercussions. Like you should have to like buy yourself back in, you know, to like.
I think the problem is like since there is no repercussions, everyone knows that there is a naturally built intrigue by walking away and then possibly coming back. Though it's not for everyone. Like for Conor, there's clearly an intrigue, and I don't know that anyone was like chomping at the bit to see if Gustafsson was like serious about being retired. I think for him, he just changed his mind again. But for Conor, anything Conor does makes money, it seems. So teasing the idea that maybe he's done fighting, only to then continue to use that to tease the idea that maybe he's not done fighting, is just free real estate, it seems.
Well, and him and everyone else that does it, because if you win on a high note, or if you leave on a high note, then you kind of, like GSP did the same thing. Like 4 years hiatus, comes back, and it's like, all right, this guy I can definitely beat and take his belt from him. So,
though I think for the GSP thing is also like, he had a serious problem with PEDs, which doesn't necessarily confirm or deny that he has been on them himself. I have no idea. I'm not saying he is, but 3, I think he is there's very clearly a point in his retirement that he was looking for a reason to come back, and that reason would be lots of money. And at the time, Dana was not offering that kind of money. Then things changed with Conor, and then he got very curious again. I don't think he could sell his stock to Dana White in a way that would convince him to give him $10 million to fight someone. And then also give him the opportunity to like choose the fighter that he fought. I don't think he would be able to get everything he wants out of that. But there was a point where it would seem very clear GSP's gone because he can make plenty of money not fighting, and would be willing to come back if that was not true. And it turned out that remains to be true. I think Gina Carano was in the same position, where she retired and it seemed like she was like really done with this, especially, you know, a year or two after she retires, Strikeforce gets bought, and like women's MMA goes a completely different direction. There was no reason for her to come back, but then someone would start talking like, now this Ronda Rousey thing could be for you, and she's like, cool, pay me. And people forgot that she went to Hollywood and made like mad money, so like you can't talk to Gina Carano with baby numbers anymore. And Dana was like, nah, not really. And then that never happened either. But like, I feel like some of these comebacks feel pretty obviously like, yo, if you pay me, I can come back. And some of these other comebacks are like, I don't know, I'm just making hype for myself, and I don't really get it. Like Tyson, who's gonna come back and fight another old ass dude for no fucking reason.
It's either Shannon Briggs or Holyfield. Like, I'm in it for both.
I'm in it for neither.
I think Tyson.
Though I'll say this, I would watch Shannon Briggs fight someone. I just don't know that I want to. Don't want to really want it to be Tyson.
You don't want to be fucked up for Tyson, because we love him. We love him now. We stand. I just feel like Tyson. I feel like Tyson can hit the shit out of pads forever and be scary. And I think his world should be on TikTok or on don't banish him to the TikTok realm.
And like just continue to be Mike Tyson, the pop culture icon. I just do not want to run the risk of Shannon Briggs knocking him the fuck out. There's nothing for me. There's nothing for him. There's nothing for anybody.
They were flirting with the idea of him coming back to bare knuckle boxing, and I was going to line up a interview with the promoter, and then he ghosted me, and I was like, all right, maybe he just is big time me or whatever. And then it fell through, so I was like, that's why. It was like the day of. He was like, yeah, we'll schedule it for this, and then it like fell through, and then he just never talked to me again. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll just wait till he starts it back up again.
Yeah.
I figured like bare knuckle boxing would be happening this whole time, but it has not been happening this whole time.
It's still a sport,
but their base is like, or they have most of their shit in Florida, and I figure that's like the most Floridian American thing is to have bare knuckle boxing like in the street or something.
I think the problem is like all those other dudes' day jobs are like They're probably further from all their day jobs. So like,
and they probably were making.
They're struggling collecting unemployment and shit.
They're probably making the most money off of the gate, so they probably were not going to be able to have a gate at all. So
yeah, 100%. Like you can't broadcast that and get it back in sponsorship. Exactly. You probably break even maybe.
Not worth.
And that's not good.
Unless you just sold the idea to the UFC, you just have bare knuckle boxing or bare knuckle Muay Thai on Fight Island. Make this the real Kumite.
I feel like selling it to the UFC is a mistake, especially now. Like, man. All they're gonna do is be like, "This is where Paige Van Zandt can go," I guess.
Shouts out to the titties. Hey, boosted her stock though. Can talk all your shit, but those titties got her them deals.
So I have literally no problem with all the Paige Van Zandt moves, except continuing to return to the octagon. Stop that. Do something else. Do anything else. We will watch you do anything else.
But also, I will watch her fight and get beat up by people too, as well.
Yes, I did that too. It's just like you don't have to do that.
That's it. That's all I have. Oh well, I guess I will alert the. Shouts out to the 50-something views and the 3 followers we got on our last episode. You know, because we did most of them via just Libsyn, and I still have Libsyn, so maybe I'll just like cut this MP3 audio up and put it up on Libsyn, so it's available on both. But we got 50-something views on the last one, and it wasn't for a fight, so that means we're starting to build a little bit more. And also, maybe I put Black Lives Matter at the end of the episode. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I did put that.
I'm sure that has something to do with it.
But for our long form ones, I don't expect like a ton of views right away because we're not necessarily famous. But for 50, at least 50 people watched 2 hours of us just talking about nonsensical shit. So shouts out to those people. Aside from that, Willis Black came here last week, 2 weeks ago, and stayed with me for a week. And we trained and got him back on track. And now he's going to go out there and go train and do other stuff. So we've got his podcast coming. He did an in-person podcast with me here, and we also filmed like a mini documentary while he was here. Not documentary, but documentary style like hype video. So we're gonna get that cut up soon, probably within the next couple of weeks or so, because my Cutsmans is on vacation. But we have all that awesome shit lined up, and then we have the podcast with Willis lined up that I want to get edited, and then this one will come out before that because it's just us two, and I can just put the editing together for us. But that's just about everything I have. Jarrett, you can follow at Jarrett Green, at JarrettTTJAWN. That's Jarrett John on Instagram, and also on Twitter, the same thing, right? Follow me at High Functioning Stupid. I'm not spelling that out, but it is all one word, High Functioning Stupid. Follow us at Catchweight Update on Instagram. We put up most of our videos up there. Follow us on YouTube. Catchweight Update on YouTube.
No.
It'll be all the subscribes are much appreciated. We're at 45 now. We started from the bottom at like 5, and now we're at 45. So shouts out to that. And Jarrett, and writing stuff, anything that you want to plug, my friend.
No.
That was such a dramatic head clear. Like, you cleared to cough your throat, or to clear your throat, and then you readjusted the camera back, and you just said no. And I was waiting for something.
No. I'm not doing anything new. I mean, that's not true, but it's all at the same places. I'm not reviewing anything cool anytime soon. I reviewed... The only thing cool about my Disintegration review is that it was at IGN. It's a bad game. You shouldn't play it. And I have an assignment over the weekend that might also be one of those. So like,
is it about if you say that about The Last of Us 2, I'll flip the shit because I fucking love that game. I don't care what anyone says.
I mean, so we're not going to do this right now, all right? We're not going to do it right now.
We are. Don't you talk poorly of this game, you son of a bitch.
I am a person who has warmed to that game, but also still think it's maybe a 7 at best. But 7's good out of 10.
It's not. The incels were putting it at 1.9, and
that's because the incels were like, "Why is Abby's arm so big? My dick, no."
And that's but it's so clearly explained in the game. They're in a fucking NFL facility.
They make you walk past the gym. She eats 3 burritos. What the fuck? Why the fuck do you think her arms are that big? All she does is get small.
All she does all day is train.
And shoot children. That's what she does.
And you're over here questioning it.
Anyway, there's an opportunity to talk at length about The Last of Us at some other point. I'm not doing it today. God damn it! I've dodged the discourse for 2 weeks. I'm gonna live in my sanctity, and I will shit on that game some other place.
You have a gaming podcast soon, and I'm on it, and we're talking about that fucking game. All right, real Rumble style.
Yes, I promise you, I will talk at length about The Last of Us with you at some point.
Fair enough. Well, that's all we have for the Catchweight update. The Last of Us 2 is a great game. Buy it, and then also go watch all of our various forms of media because it's important. And if you don't support us, then you don't support Black. And if you don't support Black,
yeah, it's very anti-Black. Anti-Black.
Shouts out to Nick Cannon for keeping it real. When keeping it real goes wrong,
it's very anti-Semitic, anti-real Semitic to listen to this podcast.
You support Deshaun Jackson and him misquoting Adolf Hitler. You support. That's what you support. If you don't support this podcast, you support ISIS. You support the coronavirus. If you don't like and subscribe and share.
Very pro-COVID and you do not subscribe and share.
What are you, an anti-masker? Is that what you are?
Weird.
Psychotic? That's all we got.
Goofballs.
That's all we got for you. Peace, love, and gap, y'all.
Mm-hmm.